set? All right, welcome everybody. We're going to start the meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. And like we do with all our meetings, we ask people to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Hey, Rachel, if you would please call the roll of the board, please.
Dave Anzera,
Here.
Randy,
Here.
Dale Lewis,
Here.
Dave Lindros,
Here.
and Chairman.
Here. Let the record show that we have a quorum, that's for sure. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our legal counsel. We've got a lot of people here tonight, and most of you want to say something. And she's going to ask you to all be sworn in this evening, and she'll tell you why that has to happen. Okay?
So I know all of you might not come up to speak to the board, but we want to swear everybody in because people change their mind throughout the meeting. And you guys do need to be sworn in because anything you say here could be used in further proceedings in court. So we have to have you take an oath that everything that you're going to say is the truth. Okay? So do you all swear or affirm that everything you say to this board will be the truth? So help you God.
Okay, assuming everyone responded to that, correct? Okay. All right, we're going to start with case 2024-005 BZA. Rachel, if you would please read the application.
Applicant Tribin Investment LLC submitted a variance application for property located at parcel number 11B03600000120 on Bacon Road. The request is to allow 20 proposed townhomes to be located within 150 feet of a gas well or tank in violation of section 6.02p, which requires that no new dwelling shall exist within 150 feet of any gas or oil well or tanks or other gas or oil facilities.
Okay, I find no error in our zoning inspector requiring a variance for this. So we're going to start. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this request? All right, if you want to come forward, state your name.
Hi, my name is Hannah Cohan. I'm with Triban Investment at 7555 Friedel Drive in Concord. I don't know, is now the appropriate time to read in our response to the Duncan factors?
We've got them all on file. I
Okay.
don't know do we need, I mean, if you want to go over them, but we've got them all on our record.
Yeah, in your application.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure they're
Yeah,
included in the
right.
record.
Yeah, they've all been entered and we all have a copy of those.
Okay, is it all right if I just walk through a brief overview of it then?
Pardon?
Is it all right if I walk through a brief overview of,
Sure.
of our situation? Okay, thanks. Hi, so I'm with Triban. We are the property developers. We bought this parcel back in 2005. So we've had it for a long time. It's about 10.3 acres, zoned R4 for multifamily dwellings, which allows us to build either townhomes or apartments on it. We are trying to develop a project that is fully compliant with the zoning code, but we have hit a little hiccup with this gas well issue. The gas well is existing. It was existing when we bought the property, and it is leased out to a third party in perpetuity, so we don't have any ownership or direct control over the gas well. We are proposing 71 new townhomes on this site, which is allowable for the zoning, and all of our other zoning criteria we believe will not require variances. We are allowed to build up to 73 units, so we're a little bit under the maximum density for the site. And I'm just going to go through the factors that demonstrate we have a practical difficulty for this site. The first one is whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return, or whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without this variance. This development, without this variance, will not yield a reasonable return or allow a beneficial use of the property. The property was purchased in 2005 with the intent and understanding that a development that's fully compliant with the R4 zoning could be constructed. After we bought the property, the code was then later updated with section 602P, so this requirement did not exist when we bought the property. This new requirement does impact our ability to construct a development with an optimal layout that lets us best utilize the property. It is a bit of an odd-shaped parcel, so there's a few limiting factors in the geometry of the site that this plays into. Without an optimal layout, the project is not economically viable and Triban cannot sustain beneficial use of the property. Number 2, whether the variance is substantial. The requested variance is not substantial. We're requesting relief from the 150 feet buffer for 20 out of the 71 proposed townhomes. There's 9 townhomes that are within 150 feet of the gas well itself, and those range from about 74 feet to about 137 feet from the well. In addition, there are 11 proposed townhomes that will be within 150 feet of the tank battery, so the storage tanks. Those range from between approximately 34 to 122 feet of the battery. Again, this well was existing when we bought the property, so we don't really have any control over its location. There are 2 wells located in the Pines development directly across Bacon Road from this project that are approximately 36 feet and approximately 60 feet from the nearest houses. There's a new Dominion easement that's going in across the street of McKinley Crossings that's within 37 feet of the closest buildable lot. There's also active wells all throughout this area in residential neighborhoods, including in the meadows at Fairway Pines, Greenside Village, North Creek Villas, that all have wells within the 150 feet buffer. Additionally, our direct residential neighbors, the Tiburon condominiums, are already residential buildings that are located within 50 feet of the existing well. So there's a precedent. These condos have been there for a long time and they're already existing closer to the well than most of our units will be. This well has been there since 1978, and many of the wells in the area that are in similar residential neighborhoods are from around the same time period. Number 3, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether adjoining properties would suffer substantial detriment as a result of the variance. The well and the tank battery are already existing features, so they're not changing anything for the neighbors. As such, the essential character of the neighborhood will not be altered by granting this variance, nor will the adjoining properties suffer any detriment. The requested variance is very much in keeping with the character of the neighborhood, and similar conditions are found again in many adjacent neighboring residential developments. Number 4, whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. The variance will not have a significant impact on the delivery of governmental services. The well and the tank battery, again, are already existing on the site. Number 5, whether the property owner purchased the property with the knowledge of the zoning restrictions. The zoning restrictions did not exist when Triban purchased the property. Again, we purchased it in 2005 with the existing gas well and tanks located on the site and leased in perpetuity to a third party. Section 602P was enacted in 2019, long after Triban purchased the property. In addition, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Oil and Gas Resources does not regulate the distance between new homes and existing wells or tanks. So Triban had no way to anticipate this hardship when purchasing the property. Number 6, whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method other than the variance. No, we are not aware of any other method that would allow us to get relief from the strict application of the code on this point. Number 7, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting a variance. The spirit and intent of the zoning requirement will be observed as the condition we are proposing is common in the area and a residential development already exists within 150 feet of this same well. Substantial justice will be done by granting this variance as the zoning restriction in question did not exist when Triban purchased the property with the intent to create a residential development on it.
Okay.
That's all I've got for now.
You did a very good job addressing all 7 factors in the Duncan.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Not right now, unless there's any questions.
While you're there, does anybody on the board have a question for her?
was wondering if maybe at some point during the hearing, you could point out on the property where, you know, the location of the wells and the
Yeah.
homes it'll be.
Is it all right if I point?
Yeah,
to-
go ahead.
Sure.
Can make it clear to everybody here and more clear to us. The drawing we got is kind of small.
Sorry, it is kind of small. So the existing well is right here. And you can see this is one of the Tiburon condo buildings right here. This is our property line here. So it sits right on the property line. And then the tank battery is here. So we're trying to keep it out of the way, but it's, there's not a lot of options of where we can.
Those are all parking places, the rectangles.
These
correct?
are, yes, parking spaces.
Where
yes.
is it presently?
Presently, it's over here.
Where the hash marks are?
Yes. Actually, you can see these three orange things right there. Is that them? Those three? Yes, I'm sorry, right there.
Those are the tanks.
Yes.
So the tank battery is proposed to be moved.
Mr. Chairman,
Into
could I have
this
the
thing.
assistant chief calling? I'm gonna take this call. It's the assistant chief regarding this.
Okay,
Hey, Gordon, can you just
So-
hold me?
hold on just a moment. Okay, you can go ahead and explain this further if anybody has any questions.
Sure. I just wanted to.
You're gonna move the tank battery, is that
Right. The
correct?
tank battery, though, again, it's owned by a third party, so we don't have full
They're-
control. We're working with them to try to find an agreeable solution for everyone. But that is not something that we're 100% in control of.
Are you aware or sure that there are no connections to any other of the wells that are around surrounding? A lot of times when they drill wells, they'll tie the multiples together so they don't have to put as many batteries in.
No, we're not aware of any connections to any other wells.
So that's solely to take care of this well,
It
correct?
is only for that well.
Correct.
There are multiple, okay, speak. There are multiple wells in the area that the well owner owns, which are, as Anthony mentioned, over to,
Right.
the other side of the road, that are individually.
Can you state your name so that way
Rick
we have it?
Lundstrom.
Thank you.
Just curious, I was talking to Harley earlier, but it seems like this would you put in your, see if I can get this right, it's down here now, right, the new one?
Right, it's right in the center of that white rectangle behind the parking. Right there, thank
Right
you.
in here.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be easier to flip this up and put it here and put your parking there? And you wouldn't have, I mean, it'd be a little further away, maybe even, because this is gonna be real close, 37 to that one. If you put it up here where your parking is, like along here, put your parking down there, I mean, it takes care of a handful of them. To me, the battery is more of a concern than the well. You know, it's got more chance to have a problem than the well itself.
Yeah, we've looked at quite a few different site configurations, and this is the most successful to satisfy all of the
Just
other
so
zoning
everybody
requirements.
knows, Mr. Lewis was the battalion fire chief in Mentor, Ohio, before he came here. So I've kind of asked him to do some homework on this with the Ohio Revised Code and the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. So he's checking out some of these things. And to the best of our knowledge, there's never been a problem with a gas well around, right, Dale?
Well, I was on the Department of Mentor for close to 30 years, and I was on one call for a gas, actually the battery, and it was more of a maintenance problem than a safety problem. The lady was complaining because they hadn't painted it.
Oh.
But I mean, she called us out because she thought it was leaking, but her real complaint was it was unpainted, which, you know, will be a problem I'm sure that you'll have to address with the owner of the well, because you're gonna have it in your property, but he's charged maintaining. Now, my understanding, or at least for the wells I've been acquainted with, they have to have inspections done, I believe it's weekly. They have to have somebody come out and read it, maybe even more often than that. And which alleviates a lot of the problems, because and some of them are automatic too, as well as, you know, automatic safeties on them, but somebody has to come out and read the pressures and take care of them, make sure there's nothing going wrong, and that's, I assume, being done you know. But that's always the case, we assume. But at any rate, to answer your question, Tom, we have, it's a rarity if, you know, if it occurs, it's generally a problem that, of maintenance, where people hadn't been taking care of them the way they're supposed to. But, along that same line, it's odd, in my mind anyway, that they do it backwards. They tell you where you can put a new well, which is no closer than 150 feet of a dwelling.
Right.
But they don't tell you where you can build, and I believe they leave that up to the local jurisdiction, which in this case, they've done that. When I was which is better than 15 years ago, and since I've had any acquaintance with the problems, it actually was at one time 1,000 feet, not 150. But the need for natural gas kind of pushed the state into saying, well, you know, that's a lot of, because when you get a gas pocket, it's a large pocket, and they want to be able to use as much of it as they can. And at the time that they changed that down to 150 feet, it was, you know, they wanted to do a lot of drilling. But it is what it is. I will say that there's an application, and I wanted to bring that to the board's attention, that if you want to drill closer than 150 feet, you can apply for it, which is kind of, again, reversed, but what you're asking to do is make it closer. You can do it, but even then, they restricted, they have to have permission from the property owner, which would be you, but they can still only go as close as 75 feet for a well and 100 feet for the battery. So, you know, even when you get a restriction granted, or take the restriction away, that's as much as they're willing to do it. So for whatever that's worth, I think the state's saying, hey, we gotta have some kind of restrictions here, and that's what they've come up with. So even if you apply to put a well in closer than 150 feet, there still can't be 6 feet. It's gotta be, you know, 75 feet for a well and 100 feet for the battery.
I do know the ODNR, though, as I think you stated previously, does not regulate the location of a new house in regards to an existing well. 'Cause we have a similar project right now that was just approved in Brecksville, where we had an existing well, and it's actually in the backyard of a sublot, and they didn't have anything that locally spoke to that, so ODNR's guidance prevailed, and it was allowed.
The ODNR does not have a minimum.
Correct.
Correct. I checked with them.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, ODNR doesn't have a minimum, but we did invite ODNR here when we created this language, and that was their recommendation to us, because they
Okay.
couldn't regulate buildings, they can only regulate the wells. And so even though they didn't want the homes as close as some of them have been, and mostly for, you know, in order to access the well for
Sure.
maintenance and things like that, so large equipment can get to the well, that tended to be the biggest problem, not necessarily a danger issue, but more,
Right.
you know, in order to do maintenance, they were unable to. And I just got off the phone with the assistant fire chief, and I'm glad I had this conversation with him. He clarified that the 3 tanks are brine tanks that are used to separate the oil and water, and that there's no hazard in being in close proximity. There's no, you know, risk of explosion or something from those. That there's no risk in proximity to those tanks, because they're not really they're not holding compressed natural gas or anything. And so he doesn't have a safety, he's not concerned about safety unless they're rusted and they start leaking. And then there's a potential
Those
health
are the
hazard
3
for that.
tanks you're talking about moving?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, to
So
this.
those are brine tanks?
Yeah, these are the brine tanks would be these 3 relocated here.
Okay. Now, can you address, you've got parking there, and your well is actually on the property line. Can you address that there will be no problem getting maintenance vehicles in and out of that area?
Yes, so we've located one of our fire T-shaped turnarounds also to serve the dual purpose of providing maintenance access to the well location. So you can see it's sort of lined up, so there'll be a direct line of access from that street stub to the well. Thank you.
The closest, you have 11 between 34 and 122. Are those in proximity to the tank or to the well?
Those are to the tanks.
Okay, so those are the ones that are the brine tanks.
Correct.
Those would be the 11 on the bottom left corner.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's, this grouping falls within, at least part of each unit within 150 feet. And then the 9 are over here.
74, 137, okay. All right, do you have anything else?
Not at the moment.
Sir, do you have anything you want to say? Okay. If you would state your name again.
Name is Rick Lundstrom with Triban Investments, 7559 Friedel Drive. I don't want to recap everything that Hannah had said, but as she said, we bought the property in 05. This wasn't in place. The well owner who has the gas wells with the lease on it that we have with him as well was stated in there that we could move the wells since we bought the property if we ever were to develop at our expense, which I have personally worked with the well owner to make sure, as you can see, that everything gives him ample room to maintenance his wells, his tanks, get trucks to him if ever need be. And that was his biggest concern, because he was the person that worked with the DNR that brought them in because of what happened on the other subdivisions, which I don't dispute what he did. I do understand. You know, they were in people's backyards. They were in areas that were tough for him to get to. And I understand his concern. So when I worked with him on this project, my goal was to make sure that there was nothing that would hinder him to take care of his stuff. In regards to us moving the tanks, what you see, if anybody, since you're locals, have seen what they are, they're old, rusted, dilapidated. When we do relocate, we will put brand new wells in place. And with that being said, in the area that they go, there'll be new tanks, new equipment. The tanks will be smaller and squattier, so you're not seeing a tank that's 15 feet, maybe 20 feet tall. These are going to be shorter. We are going to put a fence around it, along with some arborvitaes to decorate it so that it disappears and blends in with the landscape and better taste than what you see currently now today. And if there are suggestions, you know, could we put the tanks somewhere else? I'm more than wide open to try and work with you guys. But as Hannah said, this is the best layout that we could come up with that would work and accommodate for the well owners was the big issue that we needed to make sure we accommodated for.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you. Any questions?
I do have one question, maybe, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to confirm that I did have a conversation with the well owner, and he is content with the amount of space that he has. I let him know that he's welcome to come and speak if he felt like he needed to, or if he just wanted to continue his conversation with Rick, he could. And obviously, he's not here this evening, so.
Okay.
The back of this property, if I'm not, when I say back, the furthest east portion of the property, backs up around the curve of Kirkstone, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Has there been any thought to move the well, the battery back to the back of that property, so where you have the stub where it ends, go beyond and put it at the back of the property so it's away from the homes?
I have entertained every possibility, and that is an area that I looked at. The biggest issue with that, not that it can't be done, is that we do have to maintain a drive for vehicles to get to that. So if you check that out.
Yeah, go ahead and show us where.
If you see where this is the new pond that we would be putting in, this area is an existing pond that actually is Kirkstone's, that is on our property that we have to maintain. It was an old easement and everything was on our property. So we were actually going to clean the pond out and groom it so that it's back to good working order. So we should have some space back here, which we do have to have a 25-foot buffer because of the zoning that's there. And I did look at the houses in distance here. They're about 200 feet they would be. So they have ample space, but so it is a possibility, but we would need to get a drive that can always be accessed would be the only thing. So that's why we chose this. It was less invasive coming into people's backyard when they were home, which they, as you said, they do come about, it was about once a week that they come to maintain, which is the well owner himself that does check those wells and
Yeah,
maintain
he's probably.
his well worker. So, but we did look at this, and that would be the only drawback, is that this drive would need to extend so we could get to it. So that's why we thought that would be the best. Appreciate that.
Well, while you're up there, I still wonder why you didn't put the, what is it, 4 units? Where the parking
These here?
is. Yeah, swing those around.
So this green line that you see, I'm sorry, this dark line,
Right.
the green hash marks, there's a 50-foot buffer, that anything that butts up to this project, we have to maintain the same buffer.
Rear easement?
Correct, there's a 50-foot buffer there, so we can't build in that. So this, you can see, is at the limit, because we have a 20-foot driveway right now. So this building's at that limit right there, so anything here wouldn't fit, it would have to go into that buffer, that's why we did.
I would have thought that variance would be easier to get than this one, but, you know.
People don't like to be encroached on. We had talked about reducing buffers, at a previous meeting, and the trustees didn't feel that that would be the best move. They weren't in favor of it, because people like to have their space, and I respect that. When you purchase something and you have a distance to be from, we'd like to keep it that.
Okay, thank you. I think, I'm sure all these people didn't come because it's a nice night out to take a drive. And, you've done a very good job of showing what your plans are, but at this time, is there anyone else to speak in favor of the project? Is there anyone to speak against or have questions about what they're proposing? Yes, ma'am. You've already been sworn, so if you'll come up and just state your name.
I'm Mary Jan, and a longtime resident from Northway Drive. I don't know if you're aware of it, Rick, but this was before, it was right before LTEC moved out of Fairport Harbor. We had, by the well that's in the back of the 1300 building, the pipeline broke. And I had to call, my husband was president at that time of the condominiums. So I had to call him at work and let him know. I happened to be home that day. And I was just taking a walk, looking at the units like I said I would do for him, after a rainstorm or whatever. And the pipeline to that well that's in the back of the, in the little cubby in the back, there's dirt was flying around, and you could see like a whoosh of air coming up in dirt debris. And there was a hole about this big that blew out of the ground. And I just wanted to make you guys aware of that fact, because it's really close to our units. And that 1300 building is, it has 4 units to it. And that's the only thing I wanted to make you aware of before you go flipping around everything. Because that, I can't remember when LTEC moved out, but he was still like right down the street, came home, got a hold of the guy that owned the well, and then they had to take care of everything, dig up that line and repair what they had to. And, I just wanted to make you guys aware of that.
Okay.
That's all. Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else want to say anything? Yes, ma'am. You want to come up?
Hi, thank you. Lynn Carey, 1855 Kurtstone. I didn't realize that the wells and tanks were not owned by the owners. If you really feel that they are being maintained or will be maintained, you're making an awful lot of effort to bring everything up and make sure that it's compatible and amenable for everyone. If we can make sure that that the maintenance is going to be ongoing, that if the closeness is less than 150 feet is not damaging to the township, to the owners, to Kurtstone, to you homeowners, if you're comfortable and it's workable, you really are trying, and I give you a lot of credit. If we are not damaged and hurt in any way, I'm okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just so everybody knows, when we do this relocation, all of the lines, all of the tanks, everything will be new. I mean, these wells were back in the late 70s, I believe.
78, I
Put in. So that stuff probably very well is that old. So the tanks will be new, the lines will be new. The lines that feed the well to Dominion will all be brand new. The current lines that are there from the brine tank right now to the well are probably from 78. Those are all being removed and everything will be new, so this will be treated as, hearsay, a brand new well.
And-
So
and-
maintenance will be less.
Yeah, then who would be responsible for the maintenance of?
The
The
owner.
owner still will
The owner.
maintain his own well, we're replacing everything on our dime.
On your dime, okay.
It's 100% for us to pay for.
The Ohio Revised Code 1509, they're very specific about maintenance of these.
Right.
So they're not, you know, it's not just haphazard. The
But-
state of Ohio,
More so with the checking than they are with like painting and, you know, that sort of thing. So if you could install a fence around it, or I'm sure that's in your plans too. But,
yes, sir.
I'm Rick Polo, I'm a resident at Tiburon. I am one of the units that is really close to the brine tanks, so that's why I'm here. My question is, we've discussed about in the future, replacing the well and the tanks and the lines. Now, if we've established that approximately around 1978 they were put in, we're going on what, close to 50 years? Is there any data that supports the lifeline of any of this underground piping or the fixtures attached to this well? Are there any regulations as far as maintenance upkeep that at 50 years, this needs to be like a car? You need to change your oil, you need to do this. Is there anything in place?
Can't answer that.
Which I'm assuming would be ODNR, would be the people to ask.
It probably would be the state of Ohio, because they're the ones that set the rules on inspections and everything. Is that right?
Yeah, ODNR is the
And
enforcement.
they're the enforcement part of it.
if it eases your mind, and they generally encase everything that's below the Christmas tree with concrete. It's poured around it as they go down, and the concrete, you know, protects the metal.
Correct.
So you don't have much trouble from the drilling part of it. The part that is not drilled is exposed. The part above it with the valving and so forth is all exposed, and generally it's painted by the owner periodically, but it's pretty obvious that, I mean, you can see
When
it.
something's starting to
You can
fail.
see it, but I'm not aware, and it may be, like you're saying, that they say, all right, 50 years. I know in our city of Mentor, where I worked, they had a problem with old wells that needed to be capped, where they used to drill a shallow well, which is not what they have here. They used to drill a shallow well for gas for like one home, and people would have them in their basement, and they would sell the house and move, and the next person came in, and those are really dangerous because they're not treated or capping or odorant, so that you don't really smell the natural gas and it's leaking. And those are the style where you had pipes going down and no real protection, so they would rust out, and it got to be a headache. Those needed to be capped off with concrete and so forth, as a regular procedure. And there are regulations with the state on the 1509, I believe it is, with how to cap off an old well. But as far as required changeover, like you would your tires or something like that, or, you know, an oil change, it's not to my knowledge.
You're getting all new tires, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right, no, I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't know.
The time frame of this being done, is this a 1-year project, a 5-year project, then a 10-year project, or a project to get the zoning variance and then we forget all about it?
I don't understand your question. Are you asking, are we moving forward? with
A
the
time
project?
frame where this would, a realistic time frame, 1, 5, 10,
We plan to break ground on this project in the spring of next year, if not this winter, if approvals are complete by then.
but where does the well fall in the building of the units?
The well is the first part of the puzzle that we have to
Okay.
relocate so that we are able to, put the roads in, put the infrastructure in.
Okay, so you
That
would
has to
be
be done
moving everything prior to any building? Okay, good.
This is not a bait and switch. if that's what
Right.
you're asking. Yeah,
I mean, I've seen housing construction
Yeah.
25 years
Yep.
and now maintenance in factories.
Yep.
They promise you everything and then when it materializes, you got a bag of sand.
Understand.
No, they'll be under scrutiny.
I know I live real close, I walk my dog.
All right, anyone else have any questions?
I do have one more question. I apologize, and
Sure.
I don't want to beat it to death, but when
You
you
wanna-
considered the backside of the property for the battery, any idea? And it does look like it would impede with the pond that's there, so it would have to be built up and structured in the road, et cetera. The idea of the cost, did you investigate that at all?
To move it that far.
To move it that far. The only reason I ask is I understand that the statement of it doesn't appear to be excessive in terms of the variance request, but the closest home is about an 88% variance per the current regulation. And I also understand that there's not going to be hazardous material on there. Unfortunately, that's not how the zoning reg calls it out. But to that point, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it and do the best that we can in terms of making a decision. So,
I did look into it. I mean, right now, with our standard relocation, we're looking at, it's gonna be about $80,000. If I do move those tanks to the back, it's extra pipe basically in a day and extra road. It's gonna be between 25 and 30 additional.
okay.
Now, I will point out if I can, that where those tanks are going to go, the distances that Hannah had put down there, us not knowing what really pinpoints the distance, is it the middle of the tank, the edge of the tank, is it a line from the tank? The well worker asked for 25 wide by 50 area to be in, so we went from that 50-foot mark. Could everything be crowded to a corner that's accounted for? Absolutely. I just don't know what pinpoints that distance, so we could gain, I mean, those tanks on average in roundness are probably about 15 feet max. So could we gain 35? Probably so. Absolutely.
So your 34 could end up be 69.
I think we could honestly be at 75, because I know that's not slid, that box is not slid all the way down to the buffer. There's still some room there, because we're trying to keep it wider, and it can move. So I think we can achieve close to 75. And
Okay.
that is about what that well is as well, is currently in this position.
Perfect. And I will correct my statement for the board. It's a 78% variance, not an 88%.
Okay.
So. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I have one question of the board. If you do make an amendment to the variance request to increase that setback, I want you to be sure you can meet whatever that number is, so then that way you don't have to come back, because if you need even a foot more, we still have to come back before the board.
I
so-
don't think we're gonna do that. If he can make it better, it's better.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
okay. All right, would someone like to make a motion, please?
I'll make the motion to approve variance number 2024-0005 BZA.
I'll second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Rachel, if you call the roll.
Okay, Dave Lindros?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Dave and Zara?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes. Okay. So you're good to go.
Thank you all.
Now, you say you don't want to start until the spring, is next spring?
Well, I would like to start tomorrow if we could.
Well, here's why I ask. For you to proceed with paperwork, it generally takes a month for the minutes to be approved, and that's when our decision becomes official. We can journalize this decision, which makes it official immediately. So if you would like us to do that, we'd be more than glad
I
to.
would greatly appreciate it.
All right, so if someone would like to make a motion to journalize this decision.
I'll make a motion to journalize the variance decision for case 2024-0005-BZA.
Second?
I second.
It's been motion has been made and seconded,
Yeah.
Rachel.
Randy?
Yes.
Dave Lindros?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
Dave and Zara?
Yes.
And Chairman?
Yes. Okay. All right, folks, I hope you had your questions answered satisfactorily. So if you, that's the end of this hearing for this case. If you want to leave, you're welcome to leave. We've got another one on our agenda here. Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So Rachel, if you would kindly, well, we'll wait till they get on. That's a lot easier.
I mean, once I find out it was Brian's solution, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Plus,
There's never
plus
been.
brand new tanks.
Yeah, especially to
Brand
replace
new.
all brand new, and that takes care of the whole lot.
Well, that's all they have to be.
Okay, Rachel, if you would please read 2024006 BZA.
Okay, applicant Prather Antoine A. and Roberta J. submitted a variance application for property located at 1480 Riverside Drive. The request is to allow construction of a 768 square foot accessory structure with a proposed minimum front setback of 37 feet from the road right-of-way on a property with two existing accessory structures totaling approximately 600 square feet in violation of section 14.02 C4, which requires that the total square footage of all accessory structures on the parcel not exceed 875 square feet, and in violation of 14.02 E1, yeah, E1, which requires that no structure shall be closer than 50 feet to the road right-of-way.
Did you say
Oh, wait,
14?
no, not
Did you say 1402 or 1403 for the final?
1402. It's not
I think it should be amended to read 1403 E1
Type that wrong.
for the 50 foot.
That's what's on the case. Yeah, it is. It's 1403 E1.
Okay,
It's,
thank you, David.
I do read them.
okay. Do you need me to reread something or?
Yeah, will you just clarify for the record that it's 14.03
That it's 14, what was it?
1403,
1403 E1? Okay.
and that's for the 50 foot setback.
Yes.
Okay, so I find no error in our zoning inspector requiring a variance for this. Is there someone to speak in favor of the request, please?
Hi, Antoine Prather. First of all, on the paper it says the setback of 37 feet. That's incorrect. It's 67.
Just to clarify, the 80-foot setback that's listed on the application is from the center of the road, right? Yeah, so the requirement is 50 feet from the edge of the road, and Riverside Drive's right-of-way is 60-foot right-of-way? So 30 feet from center is the right-of-way, then you measure 50 feet from that. So then the setback would be 37 feet. Does that make sense? I know
No,
I just
because
said all
when
of that
I
out
put my
loud.
shed up, I
Yeah,
was
hold
told
on.
it was supposed to be 50 feet from the center line, and that's where it's at.
No, 50 feet from the right-of-way. The right-of-way line, which is different from the center line of the road.
That's not how it was explained to us when I put my shed up.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah,
Whatever,
it's
it
50 feet
sounds
from the
like,
right-of-way line.
It's a lot closer to the road than it's actually gonna be.
Yeah, so your house itself is 50 feet from the right-of-way line. Your house is at the
Okay.
minimum setback. Okay.
All right, you want to tell us what you want to do?
I'm getting ready to retire and I restore classic cars. I've got no place to put. I got 4 cars in a 2-car garage.
Okay, so you want to put up a pole barn that's going to match up with that first apron on your driveway? Is that right?
Yeah, to the south of it.
Yeah, if you wanna come and show us, right, this is,
Yeah, I can pull it up.
yeah, if you can
Yeah,
put
the
it up.
big-
This
on the
is,
big
this is
screen.
the driveway here, right? And this is you've got a building back here somewhere now? Where's your garage in this picture?
There's another picture, Tom,
Oh, okay.
next page.
So here's the garage. And an accessory structure here. This is the concrete.
That's where you wanna put it, right?
What is the round thing?
A mound of dirt or.
Mound of dirt?
It's no longer there, whatever it is.
So that's where the structure's gonna go?
Yeah.
Mulch. Ah, there you go.
Yeah,
but that's all stone.
Okay.
That's what it's gonna go, this is an old picture.
That way where the truck is parked, that
That's where my truck
have to pull into.
You've got a truck next to the garage now, it's
So
on a
basically where
trailer.
that arrow is where you're planning?
Right.
And can you point out where the other two accessory structures are currently?
There's this one.
There's that one,
That's
That's
the
the
detached
garage.
garage.
right?
And that's the little shed.
Okay.
What's in the shed right now?
My lawnmowers and such, garden equipment.
Could you put those in with the other one? If you get the pole barn?
No, that's the whole reason, I just need the room for my cars.
I'm trying to work with you here, you're asking for a pretty excessive, outbuilding square footage. If you could move your lawnmowers in the new pole barn with your cars.
No, it would defeat the whole purpose of having the pole barn, cause that's out there where my garden and all my rototillers and all the garden equipment is in that shed.
Nice garden. How much acreage do you have?
That's 3 acres.
Oh, you have 3 acres,
Yeah.
it's deep then.
But yeah, it's just like a bowling alley, once behind there, if you can bring it up, you'll see how deep it actually
Oh,
is.
yeah, it goes way back.
Wow.
Yeah, so all you really have available is just the front.
A lot of grass to cut.
What's your construction gonna be of that, the proposed building?
There's my contractor, he'd be better off answering that.
Concrete slab with poles?
Yeah, floating slab. Yeah, it'll be posted in the ground every 8 feet with a floating concrete slab inside.
Okay, is
So
that,
that way, if ever it needed to be removed, it could be done. So there's not like a permanent concrete footer in there with rows of block or anything.
how tall is it?
Probably be maxing out about 14, 15 feet at the very peak. That way, because we were gonna build up the same pitch as the existing garage now, which is about a 6'12" pitch. They sided it the same way, so it matched the house and the existing garage.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
No.
Anyone else to speak in favor?
Contractor, could you just state your name so that way we have it?
Steve Parsons?
Anyone to speak against the request? Any questions from the board?
Just one.
Sure.
So you'll have two garages standalone when you're done with when you build the new
Right.
garage? So would they be attached in any way, or are they gonna be totally separate from
Yeah,
each
they'll be
other?
separate. There's about,
There's a big distance
Yeah.
between
there's a
them.
distance in
Yeah.
between, yeah, from front to back, there's a distance
Mhm.
in between them.
Okay.
And where he's got his truck parked at right there, that would actually be, the building would be to, so to speak, towards us, off of that concrete pad, so you'd be able to pull in a driveway, pull over that concrete pad and then into the building.
Can you go up and show right there, coming in the driveway, exactly where the building's gonna be?
Yeah, here we are. Oh, we're the neighbors now.
Let's look at the plan view on the left. Yeah.
I'm gonna take this off. Okay, there we go.
All right. Right here's this truck.
Yeah.
So the new prospective building would be right here. So that when you pull in the driveway, you can just veer over and pull right into the driveway.
There's a big tree there, isn't there?
Yeah, right there. Yeah, we'll be off to the side of it. It's only about that big around.
It's pretty big.
It's been there a couple weeks. Just planted it.
Okay,
And that gives us, I think we were somewhere around 5 to 6 feet off the property line here in the corner. We were about 13 feet away here. And it's only about 13 feet if you brought this straight across from the new building. Sits about 13 feet in front of the existing house.
okay.
So it's not real, it doesn't feel like real far once you get there and see it.
I was in the driveway today.
Oh, really? You can stop right
Saw
there.
my 56 on the trailer.
Pardon?
Yeah.
So you saw my 56 Chevy on the trailer.
Yeah, the black 56 Chevy.
You see the other.
I tried to stop in front of your house so I could look at the cars kept coming. I had to move.
Well, I couldn't find it, cause I started looking at Orton and I went up, I said, I'll turn around here, and I turned in and said, oh, 1480, I'm here. If that's the, I forget, I think that's the address.
That's right.
All right, any other questions from the board? Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve case 2024-006-BZA.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Rachel?
Dale,
Yes.
Dave and Zara,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Dave Lindros,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Again, I'm gonna ask, do you wanna get started on this right away?
I've gotta go to the building department yet after approval here. They can take a week, 2 weeks or more, so. But it would be probably within the next 3-4 weeks if we could.
I would just say, let's go ahead and journalize this so you don't get hung up.
Alrighty.
I'll make the motion that we journalize case number 2024-0006-BZA.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Rachel?
Okay, Randy,
Yes.
Dave and Zara,
Yes.
Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, good luck, folks.
Thank you.
All right,
Are you
next,
relation to Kathy Lindros?
What's that?
Are you really in relation to Kathy Lindros?
Yes, I am. She's my aunt.
I grew up on Leroy.
Okay. Yeah, my parents live out there now in Girdled.
Thanks.
Okay,
Good
good
luck.
all right, someone wanna make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Who second?
Dave?
Okay, Dale,
Yes.
Dave Lindros,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Dave and Zara,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Okay, we'll open the regular meeting. Does anybody have any questions or additions that need to be changed in the minutes? That would be, it would either be, Dale or Mr. Lindros or myself.
Looks good to me.
Dale?
Well, I'm good.
All right, let the minutes be entered as presented. And old business? No old business?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Any new business?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Want to make a
Springtime
motion
and
to
no-
adjourn?
No new business?
No, well, I mean, you guys have 2 cases for
No.
next.
I know I have one so far from you, so.
Yeah, and that's for, the guy at the gas station is making Sean real happy, so.
He's not making you happy?
About the
Look at his
U-Hauls?
face, look at his
Oh,
face.
boy.
I saw he was still
He's
parking on the
taking it
grass.
Oh,
personally.
what? Our law
Director?
director over here seen him parking on the grass.
Uh-huh.
Oh, he's on the grass every time I go by it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't think he understood what we were saying.
Drive-through,
Mm.
grand opening signs, no permit.
Yeah, it's
So he's back to
been
driving through again?
a whole ordeal.
Oh, he's using the drive-through?
No, he,
Should have stopped. I haven't seen it since Friday.
I know he's got a hero sign out.
yes.
Right.
which
With
is,
a big
There's no application
flag.
for.
which is,
Story of my life.
Maybe you should go
He's
pay him
used
a
to being
visit.
down in Cleveland.
Maybe you should stop by and make a visit on
I went in there. I'm like, buddy, you're still parking in the grass. What's going on?
You did too?
Yes.
Every
The board
year.
stops.
Is he there?
Yeah, he was in
If you see
the
the,
new
if you see the
kitchen.
black Suburban, he's there.
Okay, I may stop in next time too. Hey, we're
Get
gonna
some
start slashing your tires.
so So
Okay.
next month is a giant accessory structure, 36 by 48 workshop on Stratford, owned by Tom Skillman. So that'll be on next.
Right up here?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He, in his application, he has his signatures from a lot of neighbors, so, I mean,
Might be in your backyard, Dale.
Might be, what was the
Yeah.
address?
181.
He's down the road a bit.
Speaking
I
of
think he's
backyards,
ba-
how's
he's-
your,
He's back where they have those great big
Yeah,
backyards.
yeah.
speaking of backyards, how's your backyard been doing?
Damp,
Okay,
but
so-
not terrible. It's not running water, so that's good. It's good.
Something, that's
It's
something.
been-
All right, next meeting is scheduled for May 14th. Does that look good for people?
I can tentatively plan to be here. I should be.
So can I. All right, so someone might want to make a motion to adjourn?
Good, it's good.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn our meeting.
I'll second.
Third,
Okay, Dale,
yes.
Dave Lindros,
Yep.
Randy,
Yes.
Dave Nzera,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. That went way smoother than I thought it would.
Yeah,
when I
I'm
saw
really
those people
surprised,
come in.
really
Yeah.
surprised.
When I came in the parking lot, I'm like,